Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is your boy, Paul Briggs, here on another edition of the Paul's Paradox podcast. This is the December edition. I am joined by my good friend and colleague, Marcus Walker. All right, let's give him a Paradox podcast welcome, all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, um, as for those of y'all, this is our second episode. For those of y'all that are still kind of new to this, the Paul's Paradox podcast is a podcast on things that I find interesting or just interesting topics that I just want to riff on or get more insight on or just want to just shoot the breeze, just talk about stuff that's going on, stuff I find intriguing, and so and that's what the podcast is, and just in the nuts and bolts. Um, well, Marcus, I'll get right into it. One of the things I wanted to talk to is about sports. I wanted to talk about, from a sporting standpoint, the NBA in-season tournament. Your thoughts about it? Do you think it was a success? Do you think it was good? It was bad? What your thoughts on it?
It's hard. Well, first of all, man, thank you for having me. Um, Appreciate the opportunity to link up and just kind of chop it up about stuff that we like to talk about. I want to apologize for the look. The
Oh,
un-
dude, I ain't much better. We both looking like Grizzly Adams. We made
so
it through no shade
like,
November, no shade November.
this is we were up late. We are up late, getting close to midnight, which is late for me. With my four youngsters, we've been putting up Christmas trees in the house. and so we actually decided we got three trees up, and so we decided
Wow.
to stop. Uh, we got the trees up. We're gonna. My younger said, "Let's just do decorations tomorrow. We'll put the decorations up tomorrow." So we've been ripping, running, moving stuff all around and all that, and so the boy looking rough. They wearing me out. Um,
uh,
NBA in season tournament. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Um, I didn't. It's not that I didn't like it. Um, it was so to me it's so gimmicky. They a lot of people when they watch the NBA, they don't listen to why something was done, right? And when I hear about why something is done, I view that thing in line of why it was done, right? So like now you see a lot of scoring and all this stuff going on, and people will say, "Oh, the players are so much better than before." And it's like if you listen to what was done, the rules were changed so that we could get more scoring, so there would be more space. So guys can play more. And if a great athlete's got room, they're gonna do something, right?
hmm
Any era.
Right,
At
right.
least I'm gonna say at least from the 70s to now, if people had room, that they were gonna put buckets on you. If you stepped off of Larry Bird, he was gonna light you up. That's what the whole jab step was for. But now the space you got to back up off a guy gives you that space so he can do that. So when I listen to them talk about the in season tournament, I'm like, what do you mean you wanted to be competitive at the beginning? Why are they not competitive? Why are they not trying to separate themselves and get those, early leads so they can get the stand and set up? Why are they not wanting to, opening day, put on a show and promote the game? So I looked at it in that light that it took all of this to try to make it competitive, to try to make guys come out. And I still wasn't impressed by a lot of it. I mean, as it got down towards the end, I think the games were a little bit more entertaining, but so much of it just looked like a regular basketball game on a really weird color floor. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, oh, is this the new thing? It made me think about like how Oregon had the different uniforms. I was like, oh, NBA doing different floors, and I was like, oh, it's the in-season tournament, and it didn't really. You had the winner of the game of the tournament. Anthony Davis would say like the trophy didn't really mean nothing. So I'm like, yeah, if it doesn't mean anything to you, then it doesn't mean anything to me. It's just I just hate that they have to try to make people be competitive.
I like the concept of it.
Okay.
I will say I got into it the deeper it got. I mean, part of it because me being a Pacers fan, you know, because the Pacers was always a team where I was like, okay, they're young, and because it's not like a full playoffs where you got these grind of these 7 game series and things of that nature, having it more of a World Cup style or a Premier League style where it's like, okay, it's one and done, and it's short enough, 7 games. It's short enough to where you can get some work in. You can get some work in. I hated the last game don't count for stats and all of that. Like, why are we playing a game that don't count? That part I don't understand at all. How do you have a game that don't count? I don't get that. You know. But that being said, I like having the fact of something that every team can get a chance. Is early enough in the season to where, because how many times have we seen or we said, "Oh man, if such and such one hurt," we get around the All Star break or right after the All Star break, somebody get hurt, catch a big injury, and then we'd be like, "Man, if they weren't hurt, you know, oh, it would have been great to see what kind of run, what kind of team they could be." Or the in season tournament to me kind of proves that. And just a small sample size of, and I think for coaches, once they really get into the hang of it, and for GMs, especially if you're looking at one of the trade players or you got a dude on an expiring contract, you see what I can see nothing but positives where it can go. I'm thinking from the law unintended consequences of where it can go to where, let's say, like for example, James Harden back in the day, how he wanted to get out of contracts, or you trade for someone in the summer and you cannot trade them again or use them as trade bait until, what is it, until the All-Star break or something like that. And then if you got a guy, here it is, you're 20 games in, you can kind of see if he's a good fit or not. And then you put them in the semi high pressure situation because you got 4 league games. You got 4 league games to kind of get in this mode, and then you got the playoff games depending on your ranking from there. So at least, even if it's just the 4 games, which most of the league was playing anyway, it's enough because they kind of balanced it out by how good you was, compared on your seeding from last year. Again, kind of like Champions League style, going off of that,
Right.
to be put in the pool, it kind of gives you just something for a fan base like myself in Indiana, what we know. We don't get noise until we get deep into the playoffs. Like nobody's looking at Indiana. Now it's like, okay, now granted, I hated the narrative seemed to be, oh, if Indiana wins, then it's like the Lakers lost the finals because of LeBron, the whole LeBron thing, versus Indiana winning the thing is, oh no, the Lakers lost.
And
And
that
then
happens every time with LA. I mean, we talked about that before off, is that when it's LA or if it's the, Celtics, if it's the Yankees in baseball, Red Sox, like when you Dallas, when you're that big, it just happens, especially when you're that big and you got to make a star playing for you.
right. Now let's say for a second, I mean, I know Indiana kind of wrecked people's playing, but let's say if it had been either Indiana, the Lakers versus either Milwaukee with Giannis and Dame, or the team they beat the round before, Boston. Oh yeah. From a marketing standpoint, you see what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
storylines is already built in, but they had a chance, didn't win, and it's a 1 game thing. So which adds to the urgency, the immediacy of it. Indiana's playing free or lose. People's not expecting them. They're leading the league in scoring. Now I'm not saying that Indiana's going to get maybe 20 more games on national TV because of this, but I think with what Tyrese Halliburton has done, his play in the summer, plus what he's doing here, it shows for that like this dude has arrived. And so,
I,
um,
I I think that's a good part of it there's a young player who is sort of emerging and showing who he is. I just feel like there's still this sense of they don't really want to compete, that they're kind of saving it and mailing it in until a certain time, other players are, and that's why we had to do this. You know what I'm saying? I just it's a lot of people who just can't remember. You when the Knicks and the Bulls played, you know, or the Bulls and the Heat played, or the Bulls and the, you know, the Hornets played, or the Bulls and the Pacers played. You know what I'm saying? Like, you knew if the Pacers and the Knicks played that they wanted to really beat each other. Now, I ain't saying they wanted to fight, but there's just a sense, and I remember this from you know, even just playing in elementary. I mean, I'm sorry, playing in high school, and even playing, you know, rec ball with your friends and stuff. There's a difference between how kids and people play today, as far as that buy-in. And so when you see somebody like Halliburton, when I was listening to him talk afterwards, what the game meant to him and how he's talking about his teammates and all of those things, is like, I appreciate that. You know, I hope he keeps that. When I listen to Giannis talk, I appreciate it. I hope he keeps it. But it used to be the starting five on every team was talking like that. You know what I'm saying? The starting five on the majority of teams were talking like that. There was some tension there. The tension, you still have that in pro football, even though they lose a third of the team every year. You still have that in college football, right? It's just something that's kind of dragging it and missing it. So I see the league trying. So first of all, I guess I should say kudos to the league for trying to do something. I think a lot of people have liked it. It is the first year. So, you know, maybe some other things can be done.
The fact that you had LeBron was sold into it, you know, and the fact that, you know, it's the first, and of course you got the whole narrative. Well, LeBron did something that Jordan did, and then you got the whole divergence of that. I won't get into
But you see what I'm saying? Like, even that thing right there. In order to make it something,
your stars have to buy in.
You got to go back and look what Jordan. It's like, that's the dumbest argument you could. He did something Jordan couldn't do. It didn't exist, bro. That's like saying, right, you know, LeBron hit a 3 in the first quarter. Bill Russell never did that because there wasn't no 3-pointers in. Right. You know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 20 years. For 10 years of his career, there was no 3-point shot. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. You know, that was an ABA thing that came in when they did the merger. It's like, so it looks like, as a kid say, you're a bit thirsty for some you know, for some attention. And the way you do that is you compete on the floor. Every time the camera is on, every time the ticket is sold, every time the people come into the arena, bro, you perform. You know, you perform.
And speaking of the Anthony Davis, I know his criticism much warranted. And the fact that I've seen this man has now had 4 or 5 40-point, 20 rebound games. I have personally witnessed one on his birthday in Charlotte years ago when he was playing as a member of the Pelicans. And at that time, only, I think, Shaq and Hakeem Olajuwon was the only people that had ever, no, the Shaq and Wilt. Was it Shaq and Wilt? Shaq, Wilt, and Hakeem Olajuwon was like the only ones that had ever done it. And then to see on this championship run for him to do it, again, I was like, and of course, the narrative again, Anthony Davis could play like this, you know, throughout the rest of his season.
You won't always get that. I mean, that's just
you're not. That's
the part of it. When you show you capable of doing something, and then not only the next time do you not do it, but you like,
you're not even close.
The bed. You know,
you're not even 20 and 10.
You're right. When you at the house,
you're like 11 and 5.
You know, you at the house because your toe hurt. You're gonna get it. It's just, I mean, and I know it seemed like hater. I know it's not hater conversation, you know, but I'm just saying you're gonna get it, bro. It's like if you are the reason people look at Wilt Chamberlain less than some people when they look at Wilt Chamberlain versus a Michael Jordan, or they might look at LeBron as less than versus a Michael Jordan, is because when you look at Wilt and you look at LeBron, physically y'all bigger and stronger than anybody who guards you. You bigger and stronger. You've got the physical advantage. They put a tall dude on you, you're gonna blow right by him. You're stronger than that dude. He's not gonna block your dunk. If they put a short dude on you, you're going to, knock them over. And when you do that, and I see you play weak, or you flop, or you whine, or you get 7 other Hall of Famers, and y'all don't make the playoff. There were 5 other Hall of Famers. I'm sorry, y'all don't make the playoff. Those things are going to count again. What did Will Chamberlain say? Nobody cheers for Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was for Goliath. So when you got it, like Anthony Davis, we seen he had, and then he just kind of stand over there, and somebody wetting you up. You know what I'm saying? It's a playoff game, and what's my man name? Jokic give it to you. You're supposed to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't do that, you just take the hit. I'm just saying you just take the hit, because all of this stuff, all this who's the greatest and this person's great, all this made up stuff anyway. You know what I'm saying? You'll never really be ever compare anybody fairly and stuff. But it's that image where if you're supposed to be a Titan and you play like you tiny, then you're gonna get it. They're gonna say, man.
The thing that got me with this Anthony Davis, and somebody put this out on Twitter, on X, and I thought it was kind of interesting. Again, talking about controlling narratives. Anthony Davis is now the first player in the history of the game of basketball to have done 5 things: an NCAA champion, an NBA champion, this NBA Cup thing they just came out with, an Olympic champion, and has won a FIBA World Cup. He will be the first player to have done all 5.
Mm-hmm.
Which is if you really look at it, it's pretty much the 5 big things that you can win. But then again, he had the other 4 before he had this cup thing. So it's like, what to do? Like, how many other people have that? Now this is going to be the next separator. Now, for me, this is what I say. If you really want to make this in season truly worth up, then give me the FIBA teams. Give me Real Madrid's basketball team. Give me Barcelona, FC Barcelona's, well, FC not, but Barcelona's basketball team. Give me, Olympiacos. You see what I'm saying? If we're going to do it and we're going to call it a club like the Club World Cup, then give me that. I would love to see Maccabi Tel Aviv. If we're going to do that, give me what's the Brisbane, whatever, Coyotes or whatever. If we're going to do it, then fine. Otherwise, it's like, then what is this NBA Cup then? Now, if you took,
I would say NBA Cup winner is definitely an automatic playoff. They're automatically making the playoff. But maybe the win, maybe the title counts for something where depending on where you finish, you can be no lower than the 2 seed out of the West or something like that, or out of the East or whatever. There's some kind of way it counts for placement in the playoffs. Should you need it? You know what I'm saying? So if I win first, and I'm not saying like if I win the beginning of the season, I get the number 1. I'm not saying that because I don't think that's fair. I think it can count. Maybe it can count towards number 1, right?
Right.
Maybe if I win the whole thing and you're number 1 in the West and we both in the West, but I'm behind less than 5 games, or if I'm behind you 5 games, then that win, maybe it counts for 10 more wins or something. I don't know.
Because you would have had to play, if you have won the whole thing, that means you had to play 7. Everyone was guaranteed to play at least 4, which means you had to play 3 more games than everybody else. Right. So I can see where, to that logic, then let's say you have to win, because sometimes in Premier League and other leagues they've done this. If you win the in-season tournament, it gives you like a 5-win cushion, So you got to beat them by more than 5 games, or else they'll get that seed.
Yeah.
Or they can come get whatever seed. Let's say the Lakers end up being the 3 seed or a 4 seed. that win gives them an extra 5 in the standings. So now they can bump up.
And maybe they can accept that cushion or not, depending on how they like their matchups.
True.
Maybe
True.
I can
That
say,
may
well,
be,
we don't want to take the 5. We want to stay in this spot and play so and so. You know, maybe they, give you some
ooh,
flexibility to do some stuff. So
ooh,
now, I'm trying to play.
ooh.
I'm playing for what's that game? When they play on Survivor. I'm playing for head of household. I'm trying to get
Head of
so I can
household.
use
Right.
this how I want to use
Right.
it.
Correct.
Maybe something like that. But it's still it still relies on the player remembering. Okay. I think it's so hard today because we criticize people so negatively that the player automatically is going to be defensive. That's why we talk about when we do the show Reasonably Said, we're trying to talk about something, but not be, you know, overly critical, right? Because sometimes you kind of miss both sides in it. I think people, when they don't like a celebrity or they do like a celebrity, they either over glorify them or they over vilify them. And so guys kind of are defensive, but there is a relationship in the business of sports. And that's what it is. It is a business it's actually the entertainment business.
Right.
And that's what I have to people. I'm an athlete. You're an entertainer, though. You're an entertainer who entertains through the medium of athletics.
Right.
Okay.
Which would lead to my the second topic I want to cover. But
Okay.
go ahead.
So like if you go by Drake or Kanye come out with an album and it's lackluster, you got a problem with that because you spent money to be entertained and he ain't bring it. And so you might say, well, I ain't listening to dude no more. You might drop it, get rid of it like that. And I'm thinking basketball players, in particular basketball players, because football, you can't do that. If you go out half stepping on the football field, especially in pro football, you're probably getting hurt.
Yeah, you're gonna get hurt. Yeah.
The violence will take that out. And so if you think about back when it was a little bit more physical in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't really just kind of half do it and last in the league long. Kenyon Martin was going to hit you in the face, with an elbow, and you was going to have to play hard. You're going to have to meet that aggression with aggression. And I'm not saying I wanted to be physical like that, but there was a time when you heard all the great players talk about what's good for our game in the interviews. Our game right now is doing this, and it's really good competition out here. They were always talking about the game, and now it seems like players talk a lot about their brand, and they think more about their brand, and it shows sometime on the court. So that's I used to couldn't wait to watch basketball when I come home. And now I got all these channels. I can catch all these games, different cities and stuff, and I'm flipping around to see who look like they're really playing hard tonight.
Now, I was going to go back to the point where we talked about moving up and down the standings. Let's say if you wanted, let's say you win the tournament, because this could happen, and then around New Year's, knock on wood, LeBron blows his knee, or the Anthony Davis is on the shelf for the rest of the season, and now the Lakers are just struggling to make it to where they in the play-in. You know what I'm saying? It's like that could be the difference. Him getting in the play-in.
He in the play-in, but wait a minute, like we got this 7-game cushion. Are we? You know what I'm saying?
Do we want to end that, or do you end up being like Dallas? Do you want to say maybe we don't need to be in, and then we take our chance with draft picks? But see, I don't know. I don't think that will work because the odds are you winning that and then not even making the playoff. The level. I mean, it can happen, but that's a lot. I mean, you basically have to have complete calamity to have it, and then at that point, it's no longer an advantage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to be where it's so bad to where now it's like, hey, can we use it to move our position in draft?
Oh, you mean try to like you do 7 worse? I wouldn't
Right.
do it. I wouldn't give him that.
I wouldn't give him that. That's too much.
I wouldn't
That's
give
too
him that.
sinister.
Just
That's too
because, like,
sinister.
again, it's entertainment. And just like you remember back in the day with wrestling, when we thought it was real, they was concerned that, if people find out it's fake, that they're going to not be interested. And I think basketball, in a way, is in danger of that. Basketball is in danger of that a little bit. Is do they really want to be out here? So don't find ways to give up, to take losses, and get the number one draft pick and all this stuff. I think that's ugly for the sport. But yeah, I would definitely try to use it for placement for, I got 7 wins because I won this thing. Even though my record might be, and I'm just doing trying to do simple math. So my record is 60-22. Okay. I can add them 7 wins on, however you want to do it, whether it's 67-22 or 67 and 15, whatever, I can add those 7 wins on and take another spot, be the number one team or whatever. I think that would do something for some players, but they just gotta they have to make a decision to do that, to be competitive on the floor. And I'm not really seeing it. Now I'm gonna say this and be done with it, because I think some people say he hating. I really don't feel that way about it anymore. I'm like this. Do what you do. Okay? Do what you do. If that's what the product's gonna be about, I'm just saying I don't have to see it like I used to. You know what I'm saying? And eventually something will come up against you. Because you remember in the 90s when they were saying, they were asking the question, could the NBA overtake the NFL?
Right.
That's America. But that's because, Mike was there. Could it be the number one sport? And I don't think it could. I don't think it could because of the violence that we all like to see. We're gonna watch that, and football has its own sort of legacy and history and stuff, its own pageantry. I just think it was pretty cool that it really it started to be a question. You know what I'm saying? Now, on the international level, yes, basketball, by far is greater than football, and football is kind of catching up with some of the games they send overseas.
Now they got a long way to go to catch soccer. They got a long way to go. Way to go to catch soccer.
But see, basketball, you would think could do that, but soccer is kind of like basketball and football if you think about it. When you talk about the amount of people that's in the stadium, the amount of people that's in a soccer stadium. I don't know. Basketball looks weird when it's in a huge dome like that. That time Kareem, and I can't remember when he was in college, and they played down in the I guess the Astrodome or whatever. That's weird. That's always weird to me when they're in huge arenas like that. I don't know, because part of basketball is being able to see, being able to see the movement. It's not like if somebody can score on a soccer field, we see a dude running across the field and they start getting closer, and we all know what's going on. But basketball, it happens so quick. It happens so quick. I don't think that would help it.
And especially talking about the size of the playing field, the surface, it leads to my second point, which you've been alluding. But the second point I wanted to talk about was the return of CM Punk to WWE. And how, hell froze over. I know he got the t-shirt that said hell froze over. Yes. I mean, they always say in the business, never say never. But this was like literally unprecedented. How, when you have like Newsweek covering that, I'm like, Sports Illustrated, get it. ESPN got it. Newsweek, USA Today, like really, like I mean, as legit sports, I'm sitting there. I was like, man, you got by everybody but C-SPAN covering this, and just the moment, I would say the WWE. I know with the whole sale with TKO and Endeavor, with the joining in with UFC, and now how they're streamlining their interests as far as marketing and promotions and things of that nature, and how what they have done this year, this calendar year alone. I have been kind of like how you were talking about basketball, feeling myopic, for lack of a better term. I had started to feel that way about wrestling as a whole. Yes, we know what wrestling is, but the ability to tell a story, the ability to engage the audience, the ability to make people care, the ability that there is an ambiance of like I went to my first Raw event, live event. I have never been to a Raw event ever before, but it was in Baltimore. It was the first Raw that they had after they had went to England. They did the show in England. Um, so it was kind of a thing of it was like being in a room with 20,000 other people singing the intro songs. You know what I'm saying? There's a community in that.
Right.
Walking around and seeing everybody carrying belts, like everybody got a championship belt. Literally walking around carrying a championship belt of some sort. And the different belts and depending on how old you was how far back you go, verbatim, it was just something else. And to see CM Punk come out at the end and how the place literally become unglued um, in his hometown of Chicago. And it was like, oh, he's actually here. When that went and the music kicked, I was just like, this is a moment. This really was like to the point you couldn't even speak. Like people were just like literally lost their mind. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying about wrestling history, that one is looked at along with the other sports. I think because we did move into a era of where the marketing uh, fans kind of got it. How athletes are marketed, how
mhm.
franchises are marketed, and so even though WWE is choreographed and decided, there still is a sport there. There still is the sport of, can I get them to like me enough for me to be in these type of storylines? Can I
Right.
sell this? So like the fan becomes educated on what it means to sell a move and what it means to
Hmm. Hmm.
do this part of the story. Are you going to actually do your part in the story? Like Undertaker one time, I can't remember what show it was on, what podcast it was on, but he was talking about how he got upset with the guys because nobody wanted to lose. And he said, I'm going to show y'all how to lose. And he went out there and had a good match and he lost. And he was telling everybody, man, you got to do your job. Do your job. I remember The Rock when he wasn't getting title shots. And he talked about how you still can have the people want to see you more than anything, even though you don't have the title. Chris Jericho was really good at that. And so like people started to see like this sport is different. It's all entertainment, but this sport is different.
Correct. Correct.
This sport is different in what you actually have to do to succeed. Yeah, there's some things that's written. Yeah, there's some things that where you get in with management with Vince McMahon or whoever that makes you popular or not. But then it's also still the vibe that you can have with the fans, the connection you can have with the fans that
And they can
make you
turn it on
have
the
to,
dime.
yeah, that make you have to do something, make them have to do something with you. Um, um,
Like with LA Knight.
yeah, with LA Knight, um, there's a
Look,
guy who's been in there for a while and just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. When I look at LA Knight, I keep being reminded of Diamond Dallas Page because
mm,
Page was like in his 40s before he started late, but he was like in his 40s before he really started getting some traction, and the fans wanted that dude to win the title.
right.
And he did his part. He listened to the guys around him, and kind of crafted his talent the best way he could. You know, um, and it worked and it fit. But that was the sport
Right.
of it. How can I do this from this angle? How can I get in this lane of people wanting to hear me? You know, I mean, it's the business. This is like, I mean, it's like
Right.
music, anything. It's like being an actor, anything. But the fans got it enough to where it doesn't matter that it's
And,
choreographed. It's
and
over.
now with the blogs and the fact they're having press conferences after a
Yeah,
pay-per-view now because of the blogs and stuff and the ability for fans to communicate with each other on their thoughts or what they think what is going to happen and prognostications and this and that and the other. You have a more educated fan base. You have a more rabid fan base. You have I know you have the war between WWE, AEW, and all that. I'm not gonna get into all of that, but it's just the average fan, elite fan now. And, but with this move with TKO and bringing in Punk, they're trying to bring in the casual fan who may have been like myself. A lot of people like myself who was like, you know what? I stayed away from it because once we got past the attitude era of your because even some people I talk to say, yeah, man, I loved it back in the day when you had like Stone Cold and The Rock. And when I look at LA Knight, he has kind of that attitude era ish about him, with some of his delivery and stuff. Somebody made a comment off of a podcast, and to be honest, it was spot on. They said, because everybody been saying, oh, well, he got the little bit of this swagger from The Rock, and then a little bit of this Stone Cold with the the vest and all that. Somebody said, if you really look at it, so much of his stuff, early stuff so far, has been closer to Mr. Kennedy than almost anybody else. And when I
yeah,
said that, and they actually mentioned it to Mr. Kennedy because again, Kennedy has a podcast. And that's another thing you see in some of the older wrestlers now having their podcasts and stuff like that. Whether it is what's the one busted open or is the one where is Mark Henry and Bubba Ray
oh,
Dudley. You have different ones. You have one with Stevie Reynolds, Stevie Richards was talking about when Nia Jax made the comeback, how he went on a whole 10-minute video of why what she did was so dangerous and how this supposed to teach. And it made me even more cognizant of that. Not only next time she wrestled, but anybody wrestled. Okay, how they're supposed to hold the ring, jump in it. Like these nuances that
right.
suppose that the fan has become way more informed. And they know when something just like, oh, okay,
Right.
that's not supposed to go according to script. They know now. It's just everybody knows now.
Yeah,
But trying to blur that line between what is real and what see Punk had that innate ability to be able, whether it was breaking the fourth wall or speaking his truth or whatever it was, it was to the point where it was pushing it even I think further than what WWE was willing to go at the time, and it was just that tension of going back and forth,
yeah.
and so with Punk coming back and in 10 years had the loudest pop, like we ain't heard a pop that loud. The only other two that I remember that was even close to that when Edge came back in the Royal Rumble, being gone for like 9 years, 13 years, or however long it was. And then I will say this to me, still my favorite moment of the year when Bad Bunny came out for his match at Backlash and just hearing the whole crowd
He
chant
put in the work.
Chamblea. Chamblea, hala, na, 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 na. And,
Yeah,
and the
he
thing,
put in the work. He put in the
oh,
work
he
for that.
put in work. When
He
this
put
man has a number one album, takes off from his world tour to train for 3 months in Orlando to be ready for WrestleMania.
right. Now you
And
know
to the
good and
point,
well.
when he was on the shop, when,
I
when,
hear
when, when Paul and Maverick Carter said, wait, let's get this straight. You stopped a world tour to go train for 3 months in Orlando. He said, yeah, man. He said, I always wanted to do it as a kid. Because if you go back to that Champlain video, that was his first mega hit crossover that was the first hit I ever heard of him. And I remember the music video. He sits up there and starts with Ric Flair is with them in the beginning of the music video because he has the world championship title. Like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, that next Latin superstar, you got my boy Bad Bunny. And at this point, we're thinking, okay, Rick, you're getting old. All right, this is, maybe it's a money grab or whatever, but it's Rick, you know. But Ric Flair being in Puerto Rico, it's like, who's gonna mess with Ric Flair? He's Ric Flair. And but to see what he ended up becoming, Bad Bunny, I would never thought he would have gotten this. to the heights he's gotten to, and then to come back, do a PLE, premium live event. That's what they're calling them now instead of pay-per-views, premium live event. The first one in 20 years in Puerto Rico with the Ministry of Tourism, donating money to have the WWE bring that and the SmackDown before it to the island. And then to have it where it should have been the main event match. I'm sorry. That match should have been the main event match. But the fact that he came out there and when he came out and that music hit, like you couldn't even hear what was not even Lillian Garcia, the girl, one of the Ricochet's girlfriend.
Yeah, I forget her name.
You almost Samantha or something like that. You almost couldn't hear her because the crowd was singing. I just wish they let the song get to the part where Ric Flair comes in the song. Oh, I was waiting for that part because that was the only part I knew because because in the music video and in the song, Ric Flair. I'm telling you, I was like, oh my god, it's like all your dreams come true as a kid.
So what is it that Drew McIntyre is saying? What's his catchphrase, right? What is it?
What is his what?
Catchphrase with Drew McIntyre.
I don't know. I know he's doing the heel turn. He's doing the heel turn now.
Okay. So I'm just saying, you used to you've never heard anything that big, with seeing, it's been a long time rather. So good and well, if WWE goes to Dallas and Drew McIntyre says something like, "Who, ain't nobody that can do anything with me," and you hear that glass shatter,
just like they did with Austin Theory. Yeah. You already know that glass.
You hear the glass shatter, that it's going to set a decibel record for all sports and entertainment.
But Doc, being in Chicago and hear that, Doc, like hair was standing up. I was like, wow. Like he just stood there, and people are he's standing there still, and people are literally. You thought people was going to jump over the barricade. I literally thought they was going to mob him at the bar. Like security wouldn't have been able to do nothing. That it felt like when ECW had when they got bought out by WWE, but they still had on record they had to do the ECW one night stand in Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan. And when they had the big T, the bed sheet that painted on there, if Cedar Wiz, We Riot. And when you got 25 to 35-year-old men who have been drinking all day, just singing every ECW's person who's participated in the match, they're singing their theme song full throated, like how kids do. Like when they had like a little education game, they sing full throated because they don't know no way else to sing. When you see that, that's when yeah, we don't care what the script is. You just do.
Yeah, the fans is definitely connected. I mean, they're connected in a way that every sport. Well, I say every sport does, but every sport when it's at its height has the fans connected. I know Saturdays down here in the SEC country, every team has its thing, and you wouldn't even know that some of these teams ain't won before games. You know what I'm saying?
Vanderbilt.
You know what I'm saying? They just
right.
They mean something different,
The fact that tonight they had a actual on ESPN the schedule reveal. They had a schedule reveal show for the SEC. I'm like, how you gonna fight that? How you gonna fight that?
Crazy, man.
And the fact that Notre Dame opening weekend, week 1, is at Texas A&M.
So now I'm going back to you. I'm going back to complaining again. So now you see why it bothers me that the sport I love does not have that. That does not exist in the NBA. not All-Star Weekend. There's no teams
which
to
is in
play
Indiana this year.
where you get that. It only happens like even with some franchise. It's like in waves. You know, Memphis has had an exciting fan base, but I'm still saying like it's not a even with like with Memphis got. I don't think it's sustainable if it continues to go that way. Right. I remember when it started getting good and had those kind of back and forth. There is a Memphis spirit, don't get me wrong, but it's like I feel like that kind of got a little black eye with Ja doing all the other little stuff that went on. So that's what I mean. It can't sustain that way where you just kind of keep talking crazy to people and don't do it. Because Memphis had swagger when Zach Randolph was playing.
Right, the grit and grind. The grit and grind. That's been the identity of the
Yeah,
city, the town,
that's the
and the
city.
team.
If you ever play basketball in the city of Memphis, you understand that's what it is. That's what
Right.
it is. Because Memphis is a dog city. When you playing basketball, people play like dogs.
Right.
They play like dogs. You know,
We both have the stories to tell. We can
it
tell
ain't
on
it
that.
ain't pretty. You know,
Uh,
what my man say? What's that dude's name, man? He said Memphis is little Chicago anyway.
yes, yeah, New
Who was that?
Chicago.
Who was
I know Fraser. They call it New Chicago. That
what's
Fraser. They
my
call it.
man name? The brother was rapping. Christian rapper,
Oh, Lecrae, not Lecrae.
not Lecrae.
Um,
Oh man,
not Dale. Um, the Ludachristans. Oh,
no,
the
I
Great
remember.
Commission, Warcliffe, Great
No, it's
Commission,
one dude.
Warcliffe.
It's one dude. It's just one dude from Chicago.
Okay. Oh, from Chicago. Victory? Oh
No,
no, you talking about Breathe Easy.
Breathe
Breathe
Easy. Yeah,
Easy. Breathe
Breathe Easy.
Easy. Shout out to Breathe Easy.
Yeah,
Shout out to Jay
Memphis is
Quest.
little Chicago anyway. Like it's. I mean, it's that's what it's like. I mean, it's just we
Yeah, so yeah,
wood for days, wood for days, wood for days. You know.
yeah. Somebody posted a picture today of the 07-08 Memphis team, the one that went to the championship game with Derrick Rose, the Derrick Rose team. Talk about
Mhm.
in this picture, this supposedly like there was like Gangs of Disciples, Vice Lords, Bloods and Crips all in the same pit. And how that team, okay, I was like, look, I'm not gonna confirm or deny what all these, but some of them I know got into some nefarious activities and somewhere along the way.
Right.
But you know, it just yeah, but it was that was yes, that was an interesting time to me in Memphis. And of course, Memphis big
Mhm.
wrestling area, you know, developmental area, you know, with Laura and all of them. And I remember every time they would come to Memphis, they always find some kind of way to sneak Ric Flair in. Of course, you know, with him being born in Memphis, you know, that was a big thing. Oh, woo! Even though Rick made his bones in North Carolina, he was born in Memphis. So, you know, they always make this whole big thing. Every time Ric Flair, oh, Memphis is just, because that's what he wants. So, um, yeah, so it just, I would say it was good for wrestling this year, and especially with TKO with Endeavor, and I can see the push being for this for WrestleMania 40, a nice little round number is going to be in Philadelphia, working man town, blue collar town. You know, well, a little bit more than blue collar, but you know, but it's hard working people. So to have somebody like Punk to come in
Mhm.
now, added him to the fray, would legitimately now, of course, you know my favorite pay per view is always going to be Royal Rumble because it was always around my birthday. So I'm always going to be partial to Royal Rumble. But it could legitly give the WWE what they've been needing since they're going to this two-night format of WrestleMania. Have two legit main event matches, one for each night, to the point where the fans, I can see this. Once we get past Royal Rumble or maybe Elimination Chamber, however decide to set up, the
Right.
fans will start to argue which night would be a better night. Because whether it be Seth Rollins and CM Punk, or would it be Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes finally finishing the story, or there's been some talk, it may be crisscross, where, you know, because you had the whole Rhodes where you tore the pec muscle, you know, against Seth, and of course, you know, CM Punk, you know, The way how back when the Shield was the Shield and CM Punk, like, okay, these babies, and he coming back to be on top. He ain't coming back to be no mid Carter. So that's what I'm saying. We don't know how this is gonna turn out, but you want to make it to where it's a literally you're gonna have the fans arguing which night they think could be a better, it just or where the SmackDown. I don't know if they want to do the SmackDown and the Raw brand and have like one be all SmackDown, one be all Raw. I think that wouldn't go well, but I think as far as what could be the main cards for both nights, that could
It'd be interesting to see how they play that. I mean, because you can see that as having two really good competing nights, or one show was real good and the other one sucked.
And that's what the WrestleManias have been up until now, since they've done the 2-night format. And the WWE has always been trying, but it's hard, man, trying to build up two storylines to where they, creatively to get two storylines to be where it's at its further pitch when we get. And then let's not forget the undercards. You got LA Knight out there, what the fans want to see. I think if LA Knight was to go through another WrestleMania and not win any kind of title, I think the fans will start to get restless. Just trying to keep that fire going. You got Gunther, who done ran this Intercontinental Street since God knows what. Who's going to take the belt off of him? Or you got, which you can tell them been doing well before now, the whole Uso versus Uso match. Because Jay have always said their dream has been to face one another in a singles match at WrestleMania. You see the build up for that clearly coming down the road. So it may be to the point where you can get it almost 3D. We ain't even got to the women yet. We ain't got to a Bianca. We ain't got to, let's say, a Bayley heel turn. We ain't got to, you see what I'm saying? With Charlotte and all that. Or who knows if AJ comes back. And then just spring her on WrestleMania for something. No telling. Yeah. There's no telling. Right now, you can look at, you got about 3 stories, and then you got your Drew McIntyre, how he gonna fit into the picture, because he's been kind of a wild card. You got Randy Orton, who's been gone for a year and a half, comes back. Does he get solo? It's going on that blood. That's what I'm saying. You got enough to where you can get 3 good on each night, and then it's like, whew, that usually be good enough for one WrestleMania. Now you got 2 nights. You let these 3, and then it's like, who else you gonna get to fall up in the middle? So I'm like, So, before we run out of time, so I want to get to the third topic, and I call this IG potpourri. What I do from time to time is I'll look at stuff on Instagram if I see something, and I was like, oh, I want to talk about it. So I created a category, and I called it, Paradox Podcast. So I want to pick one. I'm going to pick one. Let's see. We're going to pick. All right. Let's see. We're going to go down to Paradox Podcast. And so let's see. I'm going to pick one from here, and I want to definitely get your take. Let me see. What's one that I can get your topic? Okay, I'm gonna leave that one out because you ain't seen the Kurt Franklin documentary. Let me say, I'm gonna go back to the one that just really kind of hit me. This one right here. Let's see if we can play it. Tell me.
People have things deeper than financial concerns in their spiritual life, their mental life, their emotional life. And that is where a partner can really, you earn your bucks. Yeah. How do you hold somebody up when they feel spiritually weak, mentally weak, do you offer yourself, or do you crush on people when they're down? These are the valuable qualities in a person when you don't have the courage. Sometimes you hold your partner's courage when they don't have the strength to believe in something they want to do, something they want to fix, something they want to heal. And you be like, no, baby, you can do that. I don't care what they said, you can do that. And you get a chance to bring that spiritual strength, that mental strength. And that's a gift. That's value. That's provided. Financially, she might not need your money. The deep waters. People have things deeper than financial concerns in their spiritual life, their mental life, their emotional life. And that is where a partner can really, you earn your bucks. How do you hold somebody up when they feel spiritually weak?
Okay, yeah. It plays back. So I wanted to get your take. I didn't know. Were you able to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Man, give me
definitely-
the money. I'm messing. I'm tripping. What I think about it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think he's right. I think, we talked about this before. One of the reasons why I think there's so many problems going on in relationships today is that people have really learned to have a transactional mindset, first and foremost. Every time you hear them talking about what they want, what they need, it is about transaction in the form of really things. He got to make this much money. She got to have a big butt. Now, all of these different things is this more I want, and it's not purpose driven. In which case, when you say it's purpose driven, I'm trying to help you do what you call to do. I'm trying to help build you up and who you're supposed to be. So as he was saying there, me supporting you supporting a friend, you supporting your spouse, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend, you supporting them on a spiritual level when they feeling low, and you're trying to bring them up and edify them right there. I think that is worth more than money. That's more important than money, because that's how you are not just with them, you for them. And a lot of people are just talking about they want to be with somebody if and only if they can fulfill, these transactional needs right here.
Wow. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to hit 1 hour, so definitely want the show to be done inside of an hour. But I'd like to thank Marcus for coming on today. I don't know. Do you have any social media, anything that anybody can follow you? I guess today.
You know what? Not yet. Look, not yet. We're working on a lot of other things that we'll next show we'll have all that stuff for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have that for everyone. But if you like what you heard here, you can respond in the chats and the comments below. And you can just follow here on Live Live Online, whether it be through Twitter or through IG. Mainly do Twitter. I would recommend Twitter. Because my IG sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, we like to thank you guys for watching the show today here on the Paul's Paradox Podcast. Again, this is a monthly podcast in which we explore my brain, something I find interesting. I normally have like 2 to 3 topics, well, about 3 topics. That's what we've averaged so far. And then I just bring in some dope people that I know, and then we just come in and we chop it up. So until next time, for Marcus Walker, I am Paul Briggs. I would like to thank you all. And again, he gets one more applause. Yeah, so until next time, we will see you guys. God bless.